All right, The Last of Us Episode 4 is out, and we finally get the pivotal moments with Joel and Ellie that we've been waiting for since the beginning of the series. Now, this episode is the first time that we see Joel and Ellie on their own without any other supporting characters, at least for the first half of the episode, if not the first 3/4. We see Ellie try and pick at Joel a little bit and try and open him up because he's still closed down and really not talking much at all. We get this awesome scene that was from the game where Joel and Ellie are in the car riding away, and then Ellie finds these books and things that she stole from Bill and Frank's, and we get this back and forth between Joel and Ellie that kind of starts the relationship building, which is the main key focus for this episode. During this car ride, Ellie finds the Hank Williams cassette tape, which has the song Please Hold My Hand from the game, which is also the title of this episode. It's such a great song, and it really resembles the themes that are present in this episode and the series as a whole. They also used this song for the trailer when they first announced the series. While they're on the road, we pass all of these places that I've never seen in an apocalypse setting until now, and it was super cool. My favorite had to be the roller coaster that was overgrown with leaves and stuff. It was just unsettling thinking of a roller coaster or an amusement park that was completely empty without people and overgrown and covered by nature. They pull off of the road for the night and they go into the woods and set up this little campsite, and I thought this was kind of creepy because they kind of just lay on the ground, pull out their sleeping bags, and sleep there for the night. A really interesting addition to the series happens at this moment. Joel and Ellie are about to fall asleep, and Ellie kind of brings up the fact that they don't know what's out there and she's kind of scared. When Joel finds out that she's scared, he ends up not sleeping and he stands and watches guard with his rifle the entire night, and I thought that was really cool. That's our first little hint that he actually does care about this girl and she's more than just cargo. Also, Ellie shows Joel that she's got this joke book that she took from Frank and Bill's, and she starts reading these puns to him, and he doesn't think any of them are funny, but she's cracking up. This is pretty important because the whole episode hinges on this joke book kind of, but we'll circle back to that later on. On the car ride, Joel and Ellie start talking about their pasts a little bit, and Joel brings up how Tommy was ex-military, basically his whole backstory of how he got to where he is now. He was a part of a militia group in the past with Joel and Tess, and that's actually how they met. He ended up becoming a Firefly, but who knows, he may have left that group as well. Wink wink. Joel and Ellie pick at each other's brains a little bit more, and Ellie's trying really hard to, learn more about Joel, but he's still kind of reserved about the whole thing. After some traveling and some, changing of plans, they end up in the middle of this town where they see this guy standing in the middle of the road, and he seems to be injured, but we know he's not. Ellie says, "Oh, are we going to help this guy?" Joel says, "No, put your seatbelt on." And in the game, Joel says, "He's not even hurt." I wish they kept that in the show, but that's just nitpicking. Joel floors it towards the guy, he dodges, and they end up getting ambushed by this group called the Hunters. Now, the Hunters are kind of one of the main antagonists in the original game. They're basically just goons and people who are doing anything to survive, but they're really bad people. In the show, they're taking kind of a different approach. They're putting all the hunters together in one sort of community and fleshing out their characters a little bit more, which, hey, I'm not opposed to. We get the iconic scene from the game where Joel crashes the car into the store and has to defend Ellie from all the other hunters. It was at this moment we got a really sweet moment between Joel and Ellie as they're ducking cover from all the gunfire. Joel tells Ellie, "Hey, we're gonna get out of here. You'll be okay." Ellie's still got a little bit of shell shock. He tells her to go hide, and then he takes out all the guys. All of them except for one. Joel gets ambushed by this one guy, and this guy's about to take him out, but Ellie surprisingly takes the gun that Joel didn't know about from Bill and Frank's and shoots him. Now, you can see Ellie's face. She's kind of shocked, kind of not, but this guy she just saved Joel from starts pleading for his life, and I felt really uncomfortable watching this. In the game, you don't really feel anything for the hunters because they're just bad guys, but they're humanizing him here, and it kind of gives me the effect that they were trying to go for in The Last of Us Part 2, where they're making the enemies talk to each other and seem more like people. This really worked for me. Needless to say, Joel doesn't care about any of that, and he's more hardened than Ellie is. He tells her to go away just for a minute while he takes care of this, and he takes care of it. Joel's coming towards Ellie. She wipes all the tears off of her face and acts like nothing happens. She's got to pretend that she's a hard survivalist when really this stuff does affect you. It's at this point we get introduced to the hunters and their community as a whole, and we meet their brand new leader, Kathleen. Now, Kathleen is a new character that we haven't touched upon in the games. We don't know really anything about her, but we learn a little bit here. We learn that she's the leader of this militia hunter group, and she's looking for this guy named Henry because he sold information to Fedra about their group. Now, Henry is a very important character, which we'll get into later on, but this was good setup because it shows the group has more of a goal than just, survive, kill everybody, take all their stuff. Kathleen kind of seems conflicted. She's the leader of this group who is so anti-government, but she's also governing it at the same time. She's kind of becoming her own enemy. It's pretty interesting. Also, shout out to Jeffrey Pierce, who plays the main gunslinger / officer for the Hunter group. He looks super menacing, and I can't wait to see if him and Joel duke it out. We see that these hunters have brought in a couple bodies, and Kathleen goes to check it out, and we realize, oh, these are the people that Joel and Ellie took out, but Kathleen thinks it's Henry and someone else. We flash back to Joel and Ellie, and they're in the store hiding out from the hunters, and we get these really, really sweet moments where Joel is trying to open up, but he's having some problems doing so. He lost Sarah over 20 years ago, and he's having a real difficulty trying to connect with this little girl who he wants nothing to do with because he's afraid of making these connections again. But he says the words, "I'm sorry. You know, a child shouldn't have to go through this." And Ellie asks him, does it get easier as you grow older? And Joel kind of says, a little, but not much. And this is kind of a, hint as to what's to come with all the violence and all the killing that is done throughout this series. We then get a moment from the game that they've changed up again, and I don't mind it. I thought this was pretty cool. We get Ellie learning to use a gun for the first time, and Joel is finally trusting her a little bit. Now, I understand why they did this. It's because, look, we got only 5 episodes left, and we got to keep the story moving, and we can't just sit and linger on little things that maybe happen in the game, because this doesn't necessarily happen at this point in the story in the game. It happens later on. But if she's going to be able to have a weapon now, it's going to become more of a useful plot point later on. So Joel teaches her how to use a gun, and it was really sweet because Ellie cracks a smile, and he's really starting to become more of her guardian than her transporter. Kathleen's going through the city. She's trying to find Henry and Sam, which is Henry's little brother, and they come across this attic, and I was wondering to myself, how did they find this place? I mean, there's hundreds of buildings. That they got really lucky. I'm going to let it slide because the show has been great about everything else, but I just thought that was kind of funny. They find all these empty cans of food, these little superhero drawings that are done by Sam, Henry's little brother, and they realize, okay, they're around. They're just not here at this moment, but they're close. They search this other area, and there's all this cement and concrete that is kind of bubbling up and down like it's alive. There's something under there. I know what that something is, but I'm going to wait to see if they show it. And sure enough, if you watch to the end of the episode, you can see there's a little preview for the next one, and I think it shows what's underneath all that rubble. Needless to say, it's nothing good. They don't tell their group about this, which I think is weird because they're kind of focusing on finding Henry and Sam. They don't want anyone else to worry about what dangers could also be in this town, so they're kind of just trying to keep the focus on these 2 characters rather than the more serious, dangerous threat. Now, in the game, the hunters don't necessarily keep women and children around. They do other things. They get rid of them. But logically, I think this makes sense. I mean, they're survivors. They're trying to live. Why not just get as many people as possible? But then again, they seem pretty dangerous, so who knows? At this point, we're nearing the end of the episode. It was a really short one. I think it's only 45 minutes. I wish it was a little longer, but this episode was the definition of short but sweet. We see Joel and Ellie set up a camp in this building. Now, this really mirrors the scene earlier on in the episode where they're camping out in the middle of the woods, but this time things are different, and it was so awesome getting this moment with them. So like I said earlier, Ellie is reading these jokes to Joel, and he wants nothing to do with it. They're, stupid. He doesn't want to form these connections with her. But as they're going to bed, Ellie flips up and says, "Joel, did you know diarrhea was hereditary?" Joel is so confused. He flips over, and he's like, "What?" And Ellie says, "It runs in your genes." Joel flips back over, trying to hide this grin that he's got, and then all of a sudden he starts smiling and then laughing hysterically, and they both have this super, super sweet, sentimental connection moment that really was super awesome to see. I think it's great that we're getting character arcs in single episodes rather than having to wait a long time. I thought this was great. It was just really humbling, and it was believable. You're starting to realize this guy cares about this girl more than just cargo now. He cares about her as a person, and this relationship is really going to develop as the series goes on. So they go to sleep all happy, and of course the show can't end happy because it's TV. Ellie wakes Joel up in the middle of the night, and she's got a gun pointed at her head, and then Joel realizes he's got a gun pointed at his head. Now the weird thing is that there's a little kid holding this gun to Joel's head, and this little kid has superhero paint on his face. Now, if we remember earlier, we saw these superhero drawings that were left by somebody up in the attic that the hunters were looking for. And of course, this is Sam and Henry. Now, these are 2 super important characters to the story. I'm not going to spoil anything about their characters, what happens, where they go, but let me just tell you, we are in for one heck of a ride next week. And actually, it's not even next week, it's this Friday. They decided to move the next episode up from Sunday to Friday because of the Super Bowl, and that just makes me so excited. The one after that, we're going to have to wait a little bit longer, but hey, we're getting another episode sooner, so I can't complain. So yeah, that was the end of the episode. Like I said, this was the definition of short but sweet. A lot of really good character moments. Nothing too serious happened, but there were a lot of things that carry the plot forward, and we're kind of building up the hype towards an event that's going to probably happen next episode. I really like the humanization of the side characters. This series has done a great job of taking not our main characters, but characters that were really cool and people wanted to know more about from the game, and elevating them to this new standard where they stand toe-to-toe almost with our main characters, Joel and Ellie. I really enjoyed this. It was a little short for my liking, but I know the next episode and the ones after that are going to be longer, so hey. Guys, if you could please leave a like and subscribe, I would really appreciate it. We're almost at 50 subscribers. I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a big goal for me, and I didn't even think I was going to get this number until at least after March, so I'm super shocked and super hyped. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.